I gotta be honest, I truly don't know if I want us to actually like clear things up with Jinchi or if I just want us to like keep having him under the belief of what, Mao Mao said last week and the misunderstanding that they had. I feel like it's more fun that way, but at the same time, I feel like to like progress him forward without him being, just broken as we literally saw him break last week. It would be nice for them to kind of clear that up. And if we do clear it up, I'm like 100% sure it's not going to be her who clears it up, and it'll end up being somebody else. Regardless, I guess it doesn't really matter, and we're just going to progress forward. If you like it all, hit the like and subscribe to mean a lot to me. Feel free to stick around for the discussion, leave a comment about this episode or series. This is a Toho show. It's going to be blocked at some point. If you would like to still watch it after it ends up getting blocked and there is no reaction for you to watch here, please check the link in the description or the comments and you can watch it there still. Let's get going though with episode 9. Lads join, they drink. Well, if you didn't drop it, you would definitely have more. Whoa. Nobody's gonna suspect a thing because they're gonna think he was just drunk out of his mind. Yes, you are. Yeah, there's more important matters to it. He definitely doesn't. So his name's not Jinshi, is it? He's like literally putting on an actor performing as somebody else, isn't he? Did he think that she was the star? Oh, he's just pissed. But you gotta give the big old stamp of approval or denial. Sir, meeting out his happens all the time. I'm kind of the same, which is sad a little bit. There's more than meets the surface, but yeah. No, but it definitely wasn't Holden. Yeah, that means there's plenty around. Like, stop making me do extra work. Oh, is she a big drinker? Or because it's like technically kind of a poison. This is just bad. Maybe he lost his fucking taste. I gotta make sure. Oh yeah, she got an issue. Wow, they was having a feast. It's nothing to enjoy. It'd be broken, but it'll still tell us probably some stuff we need. Oh, look. Whoa. Well, she's not gonna die. It's all the salt. Yeah. So they overly salt it. Yeah. I was wondering what they were like getting balls. I was like, what the fuck is that?
ないでしょう。
いやだがそれだけ塩辛いものを飲んだら普通は味で。
気づかなかったんです。これを見てください。
He can't taste the salt.
後年様の生活習慣について書かれています。それを読む限り。
Or is he like very salty as well, and then
塩味だけがわからなくて。
everything naturally tastes like
ま
it?
さか。
後年という男は真面目で有能な官僚で。
Would have lost his way at some point.
妻と子を流行り病で亡くした。
That'll do it.
それからは仕事一
Return to
筋。
the ways of the bottle.
唯一の楽しみが酒と甘いものだった。
Mm-hmm.
味
Hence all the
覚がなくなる病
development.
があります。原因は食の偏りやストレス。
Mm-hmm.
真面目な人間ほど心を抑制し、その負荷は病へ変わってしまう。
So a variety of factors.
甘口の酒が口に合わない人間が
Yep.
魚に出た塩を入れたか、あるいは
Probably a little, but the excessive amount was
酒の席のちょ
intentional.
っとした嫌がらせのつもりで気に入らない人間の酒瓶にいたずらを仕掛けたのかも。
Once again, a little prank goes a long way.
続けるので気づくまで加えてやろうと思うかもしれない。
Slowly add it so he doesn't notice the change in it over time. Yeah, that could work. That could work. Alright, you're dismissed.
卑怯だよな。ここまできっかけを与えたなら犯人を教えたも同然なのに。
Hmm.
私は誰かが罰せられる直接の原因になりたくない。
If they figure it out, it's all on
すまなかっ
them.
たな。ああ、小さい頃世話になった。
普通の青年のようだ。
Hmm.
この人も一応人間なんだな。
What did you think?
そうだ、
Connect the dots slowly.
え、
例だ。
Ah.
トン。
ああ、昨日のものとは違うが。バレないように飲めよ。
ありがとうございます。
している顔に見えないが。
No, she is. Absolutely.
それよりも真面目にお仕事なさってください。この反応はサボってるな。溜め込まないうちに終わらせては。
真面目に仕事はしている。
どのような。
ああ、そういえばこんな法案があったな。
There is a bill.
年若い者が酒に溺れるのを防ぐために
Oh.
年齢制限をつけるべきだと。酒は20歳になるまで禁。
Oh, my mouth's fucked. I don't know how old she is, but she's fucked. Definitely not 20.
人士様。
Please do not pass that.
それ絶対に通さないでください。
Yeah, what are you gonna offer him, huh?
さあ、私の一存では何もできない。
人士様。
You have a lot of influence, please. He's very pleased with himself after that interaction. A drowning woman. Is this the drowning Mau Mau from the OP? Or the drowning, yeah. Yeah. Oh, maybe it's not her then. I thought it was her. I always thought it was her the whole time. Or the ED, whatever one it's in. Uh-oh. Okay, but is this like a woman of status or what the fuck?
冬場で良かったですね。水死体の割には綺麗な姿です。
よく直視できるね。
どこで見つかったんで
This
す
is
か？
part of my job,
外の堀
man.
に浮いていた。
ジョーちゃん、代わりに見てくれないか。
ダメ
Yeah,
です。死体には触るなと言われているので。
that's your job,
それ
buddy.
は意外なことだな。
ジンシ様。
ごきげんよう、人士様。人間も薬の材料になるからです。
好奇心旺盛なお前のことだ。一度でも手を出したら墓荒らしくらいするだ。
Damn.
絶対に
What
一
the
線を
fuck?
越えるな。
背が高い。硬い木の靴。片足には包帯。
Mm.
指先は真っ赤。
She looks like she's made out of fucking stone, dude.
冷たかっただろ。
昨夜塀に登り、堀に身を投げた。
Get away from the lifestyle? I'd assume so.
投身自殺。
But as we've seen all this time, the suicides in the show are not usually suicides on purpose.
傍らに登るための道具もなかったからです。
Yeah,
高
that's
級の城
fucking.
壁は
Oh my
私の身
god.
長の4倍ほどあります。
道具がないと無理というわけか。
Somebody else has to be involved.
厳密に言うと道具を使わずとも登ることはできます。以前あった幽霊騒ぎは覚え
Well,
ていま
that
す。
did happen.
不要費の件か。
はい。どうやって不要費が外壁に登ったのか疑問
We never really got to that, huh? Oh, I guess you did. Alright.
で、職人が利用したと思われる突起を見つけたのです。ですが、大抵の女性は難しいでしょう。ましてや、あの下女のような転足の。
And hers were all bandaged and fucked up.
転足とは、
他殺だというのか。
それは
It could be suicide, just assisted with somebody else's help,
堀の
though.
中に落ちたのは確かだと思います。
Mm.
這い上がるために何度も堀をかいたのでしょう。死体の指先が赤く血に染まっています。
Okay, yeah, never mind. But that could be from the water, no?
自殺か他殺か。
Either way, it's fucking incredibly sad that somebody would have that happen to them.
命を絶とうとは絶対に思わない。
But also wish that nobody would ever
他人
take
から殺される
mine.
のも真っ
Yeah.
平だ。
Either way,
死んで
it's
しまえば
shit.
薬も毒も試せん。自分が死ぬとするなら、
How would you want to die?
何を考えている？
死ぬならどんな毒にしようかと。
死ぬ気か？
めそうもありません。ですが、人はいつ死ぬかわかりません。たとえ望まなくとも、他人の悪意が加わることで、不本意な死を遂げることがあります。光年様のように。
And is it ideal to have an undesired death? No.
触れるのか、誰にもわからない。運命には、抗うことはできない。
Mm. So even just thinking about it probably wouldn't help much. Reflection of all the time and murder and things gone over. It's like a moment of what's the word? Like reflection on all the situations that could have been you or could have gone different in different moments and how everybody may have felt or thought of things in those moments, you know? All like kind of boils up to the surface in this one thing. I'm not certain on the significance of the plant being rotated and shown here though. I don't know if it's just supposed to indicate like everything's connected through like the different branches and ways that it can be, or if it actually means something that I can't pick up on, but that's where my mind's at right now.
様、
なんだ？
もし私を処刑する場合、毒殺にしていただけませんか？
なんでそうなる？
もし私が何か粗相をした場合、処分を下すのは人士。
Yeah, so I'm just asking you in advance. Jeez. All that to come to your answer.
縛り首でも斬首でも文句は言いません。
He's like, why are we talking about this?
私が平民だからです。些細な失敗で簡単に吹き飛ぶ命です。
And that thought of second.
するしないではなく、できるできないですから。
Yeah.
面倒なことを言ったみたいだな。ご用が済んだのなら失礼します。
I read that as I'll execute myself for a second. I was like, what?
それらしい遺書も見つかり、自殺ということで事件は幕を閉じた。
Gotcha. Assisted, however.
一体誰だ？
はい。意外と大物でした。
Yeah, our girl.
ザクロ級。
Oh, never mind. Someone else? Oh, the other girl is just like a rash or something.
祝妃、アード王妃の次女頭です。
そうか。下がってよい。
I guess we know where our investigation's heading.
あーどうひ。
One of the main things that I think is the most fascinating, I think, about the show and the way it is presented is behind the idea that we are presented with so many different situations so far between murder and just mystery being involved, or suicide, or whatever it is, death and mystery, I would say, being two very, very important things, or potential death and harm towards others and whatever is happening, right? And so many things, and they're very intricate ways of kind of having to look at these things, right? There's so much that's kind of tangled up in it. It could be solo work of a single person trying to do things to somebody else, or solo work of somebody trying to do something to themselves, or teaming up with somebody else to do something, or a variety variety things, like groups of people. There's so many different directions and ways that it can go. And we get to see slightly more than Mao Mao, but not that much. Just enough on the outside that when she is told what has happened, we can actually observe it and like see, like we have already known that that happened because we got to see it, and that's all they give you. So placing you basically in the perspective and the understanding of like you are Mao Mao in this situation, you will like know all the things that she does, and that's it. And then if you're able to piece it together quicker than her, come to these conclusions quicker than her, good on you. If you're not, you can pick up on things based on what she says, or maybe you can follow along and do things at like a similar pace in a way, using all the clues and everything that you are given by her, right? That's a typical, like a standard formula for shows that kind of follow similar things like this. You get put in the thing of only understanding and seeing the things by the main character. What it does so differently than other ones that I've seen, which I haven't seen a lot that kind of go along the same way, but ones that do similar things in like these types of situations, usually it's very, this is what happened, this is what we figured out, it's done there, right? Which is kind of what happens here, but the thing is, it's not, because we never actually get like full answers. And while we do, they're conclusions in a way that either Mao Mao comes to or other people come to, and then somebody at some point just has to be content with it, and then nobody else really has to question or say or think or do anything like involving that situation anymore. While Mao Mao, somebody who constantly will reflect on it in past times, as we see in the situation here, wondering how this person climbed up this wall and thinking back and reflecting on past situation that has happened where somebody else was able to do something in a very similar way, right? It's her putting all those things and pieces together, but we don't get concrete answers. That's what they do so differently. They don't provide you with, this is exactly what happened. We're put in a situation where we're looking at, is this a suicide or is this a murder, right? We get confirmation this is a suicide because it was assisted in a way by, or not assisted, but it consisted of having like a will along with it, right? Like a death note in a way, which is a interesting thing because it leaves it at that, but you have no confirmation or proof or anything behind the idea. Was it actually her who wrote that? Was it somebody else who planted this and you know, did away with her? Is it a group of people who did this? And those are further investigations that we can look into and go into at these points that no longer actually require us doing it. We just don't. We leave it as it is and we accept the results as they kind of were. We did the exact same thing in the prior few episodes when Mama ended up going back home and the murder with the little girl and everybody else that was involved, right? We didn't have an actual answer. We roughly know what happens and everybody just kind of is content with that, but there's so much more layers to it that we don't fully have like a full picture of what exactly happened, because so many different things could, and we may either never get the answer or we just don't want to explore it further. But it's just cool how we leave a lot of this stuff kind of open-ended in a way that if you disagree with the way it was presented or said, right, in this situation, you can look at it, and I think even in the moment, my initial thought and feeling was, oh, okay, she was accompanied with a note that she probably just ended up killing herself, right? And my whole thing on how the second one ended up forming and turning out is simply behind the idea that she was probably assisted. We talked about how it's difficult for them to climb up these things because it seemed like that there were kind of I don't know what it's called. Like there were things in the wall basically that you could step on in a way or climb up if you really need to. But talking about the idea that somebody probably needs to be a bit more like physically there, and most people probably aren't. So while this girl could have climbed up there, I get not easily, but could have possibly been able to get up there, right? It would make plenty of sense that you look in a situation like this and you're like, she just killed herself, she left the note, she did everything like that, right? But then you apply so many other things of logic, right? Can she possibly have got there? She might have needed somebody else's help to do this. Maybe somebody else was okay with her doing it, or maybe somebody else kind of forced her to do it, or somebody else like did it and like carried her or dragged her in some sort of way. I don't know how, but there's plenty of different routes and ways I think that could have been presented, which is cool. And then you also get to see things with the idea of like the fingers, right, being all red and everything. And Mao Mao, I think, presented the idea that it didn't look like, you know, she probably wanted to like have that happen, like she was like scraping them or like they were going up against like the wall or whatever ended up happening, right? Like injured as a result of that, which to me I took it as like she probably just was so frozen in the water and everything, but her fingers especially were the ones that lost everything and ended up starting to change and stuff. I don't know if that was actually the case, but there's just different levels and things I think that this can be presented, or we can present these different ideas of the way that people are dying or things that are happening within the palace here that I think make it really cool. And make me really intrigued to the way that they kind of approach these situations, and it makes me more intrigued, which is I think the thing that I find most interesting is not how it's done, like when it's done, like while I'm watching it. It's when I reflect and think about it afterwards, all the different ways that I start thinking of like, oh, this could have gone this, or it could have been this. And, maybe I am overlooking things, or certain things can kind of like say that certain thoughts and theories and stuff that I'm putting together may have been wrong or not actually the case, but just from remembrance of what exactly I just saw, right? It gives me such a vivid picture of like different routes and ways that I feel like that things could have been gone, and the author probably intentionally leaves it in a way that does leave it a little bit open-ended, or leaves you like suspecting certain things, or things might not add up perfectly, because sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes not all the evidence lines up perfectly on something. Sometimes enough lines up that you form a general idea, or enough of an idea that you feel comfortable saying that something is the case, when maybe not all the specifics actually line up perfectly, and they could really change a full situation entirely, but they also might not at the end of the day. And I think it's just a interesting method and stuff for us to go there and kind of approach the way that they want to do these situations. We start with this murder actually instead, which is the first one, which is once again another open-ended one to an extent, but to me feels a little bit more concrete in the way that it is presented. I like seeing Jinchi being like destroyed, not wanting to work or do anything here, right? And then also being able to see that we were able to clear up the misunderstanding, which is a big thing because I wanted that to be. And of course, it was by somebody else and no longer just Mao Mao, because even she didn't understand what he wasn't understanding. This scene gets me questioning some stuff too. The constant references that we have towards this isn't what Jinshi is supposed to do. This isn't right. Like not saying like, not using a different name, but referring to the person by their actual name in a way starts to me painting a picture of like, that's not who this person is, right? We have suspicions and these things of what exactly Jinshi's role and stuff is. I have predictions and thoughts and stuff behind the idea that he is probably related, I'd assume a brother, but it could be something else within a family, to the emperor himself. And he is supposed to be laying low within the palace here for whatever reason, because they don't want to bring attention or whatever it is to him. But for whatever reason, they want to keep him close enough and keep him involved in these sort of situations. That's kind of where my mind is when we come to it. So when we start referring to him by this name and doing all this and like specifically stating it in these sort of ways, especially because he has such a higher up position and we need him to be so like in control, in charge of these very important decisions and things that happen, it gets me a little bit like, this version, this role, this job, this thing that we've created for you, this persona in a way that we have created that we need you to follow and actually act out in, isn't actually who you are. And we are kind of pretending and acting as though you are this thing and this person when actually maybe you aren't, would make a lot of sense to me. It might not be. I might just like be overlooking it, and maybe it's just more of like a respectful thing and not to call him like something else, but refer to him directly as a name because of the level or whatever they're on. And maybe I'm just misunderstanding it. Regardless, he needs to be doing his work more, and he's not doing it, right? He needs to get a bit more focused. That's the main picture here. Anyways, we talk about things and we get things figured out, or the whole situation that happened, and Mao Mao starts having to test these things, or this different alcohol. Of course, I love her reactions of being so excited about drinking. Did not know she was such a heavy drinker, but she seems to be so excited when it comes to everything that involves something along these lines. I also wonder if it's because alcohol in a way is like basically a poison, if especially if you have enough of it at the end of the day. So like, it could just be like an overexcitement of those things, and her being able to test that in some sort of way, and more of, I guess, a cleansed form than just like a straight poison. So I don't know what exactly her reasons are, but we uncover a lot of things like salts and stuff being within it, alcohol itself being extremely sweet, and then we kind of just figure out it was a pretty straightforward thing. These people, maybe similar to the situation that we had with the little girl, what's her name, Li Shu, I think, similar to her situation where her servants and stuff kind of wanted to play a little prank and bully her in some sort of way, right? Because they didn't like the way that she was doing things, and they didn't understand the full extent to her allergy and stuff when it comes to the food that she was eating. These guys just were kind of sick of the way that this guy was being, and they slowly started adding more and more salt in because they thought it was like funny and they could kind of do away with him him in some sort of way. Ended up killing him. I don't know if their intentions were to fucking kill him. I gotta go back and look at the beginning, but I don't feel like it, I'll be honest. So I'm not gonna see exactly what they said, but that would make plenty of sense. The idea of slowly adding like more and more as he gets more makes plenty of sense too, because if you start having like such a small shift in the way that things go up in levels, you'd notice less and less, as if you were to just drastically go from like no salt to like 4 things of salt, right? If you start adding 1 each time, it becomes more and more, and it makes plenty of sense. We end up figuring out also the idea, or Mao Mao does, behind the idea that he is having a really bad diet. Basically, he was a stand-up guy for the most part until he lost his family entirely, it seemed like, and as that happened, he turned to alcohol and just became a heavy drinker and kind of lost all motivation and will within life, it kind of seemed like, which makes sense. Plenty of people have these sort of situations occur, and eventually developed like all these other things and stuff that we saw within it that they discussed, and it led to this. It led to him not being able to taste the salt and all the stuff within it. So also probably led to the diet of food and everything that he was having, probably excessive amounts and uses of that stuff as well, because of his lack of taste of it. So especially when we add more and more salt here, he's not going to be able to taste it, but it still adds up on your body regardless if you are able to taste it. This is a cute moment between the two here, and I really like how they do this. I love how he brings up the idea about putting the ban of alcohol to the age of 20, and her being completely fucking destroyed by it. And kind of persuading him like, please don't do it, which I think is great. And even though he's like, I'm not the only one who's like in charge here, I think it'd be funny if she starts like trying to give him something, a little bit of something, right? A way to make him maybe go on her side a little bit more. This is what I mean when I was like, we get to see little bits and things like this of this girl kind of drowning in this moment, of these things that Memo doesn't actually see, but it just provides the full picture for it when we actually do get to it, and we end up taking her out here. I love the doctor being absolutely scared and refusing to like go near the dead body. I also love here that the old man is like telling Memo like, dude, I know you're gonna try and dig up dead bodies and do all this stuff, please don't ever cross that line, which I think is great. And then this is where we have probably the most interesting portion of the episode. I don't necessarily think I love the rest of the episode as much. It entirely feels kind of a lot weaker than most of the episodes for me, but until we get to like this conversation for the last like 5 or so minutes, it really starts getting interesting to me. Just the idea of Mao Mao kind of figuring out exactly the way that things ended up happening, but this scene specifically where she end up thinking about the way that she would want to die in these situations, and then we do a good job of kind of putting like a center point here of this plant in a way, and her just kind of reflecting and looking on all these different deaths and these near deaths and these possible murders, or these possible like just different situations and stuff that we've overcome or gone through in her life, at least over the past 8 or so episodes now, and then having to put it into her idea of like who seemed the most happy in these moments, why, like how exactly were they poisoned or killed, or what exactly happened, would I want to be one of these people in these exact moments, how would I want to go if I had to die, and really having to like put into perspective the idea of like her own life and the way that she would want things to end up going. This moment does scare me, to be honest, because it's the idea of her asking Jinchi, especially later when she's like, if, or when that ends up ultimately coming up and I have to, be called out for, I guess, something that I ended up doing, whether it's like a poison or it's like a killing or a crime or some sort of thing that I've done, like to somebody, like for whatever reason, right? Would you be the one, like, would you be so kind to be able to put me out through the way of like a poison or do something along those lines, which is like, it's a tough thing for him, especially, right? Because one, it's somebody that he cares so much for, lack of her understanding that, but he does not want to have to even think about this being a possible situation. But he also doesn't seem like the type of person who wants to be able to put people to death, especially in a moment where we're talking about somebody who he just literally talked about how he had such like a close relation to them at some other point, and he's still in mourning of that person exactly, is kind of hard for him to really kind of grasp and want to even think about a situation like this. But it is still a lot to take on. Like, oh, when I die, can you do it this way? Like, I don't even want to think about that. Why are we even presenting those ideas? But this is what does concern me, because it's almost like a setting up in a way when Mao Mao does something that ultimately will put her in a position, or put Jinchi in a position where he has to make that like call or decision or something, right, to do with an execution or something of her. What will his decision? Can he do it in that situation? Or not can he do it, but how will he do it in a way? Because it's almost like his job that he actually has to, right? Is such a it scares me. Like I just don't want to go down that route, but I don't know if they plan to at all ever really head down that route. But I like this just of her kind of reflecting and doing it. I still don't know the significance. So if somebody wants to, I mean, maybe there isn't one. Maybe it's literally just her kind of reflecting on this, or is this like a poisonous plant or something? So she's like thinking of this idea. I don't know like the significance of that being like in the center of it. Like I said, it could just be like the way that everything's kind of connected in a way through like the branches and the things on it, like the way that the different routes and ways that things can happen within your life. Or it could just be like a centerpiece for her kind of like getting lost in thought while looking at this thing that's kind of draws your eye like across the whole screen in some sort of way, or like across the whole landscape of whatever it is that she is looking at, right? And I just wonder that. I'm interested, at least if there's more significance to it than I'm understanding, because I feel like there's got to be a little bit that they keep doing all these, you know, the 3D shot that they did, and then even like just spinning around it and just showcasing again here at the end of it. I don't know. We end off and we figure out that, what's her name, Aldo or something, she is the person under her might be responsible for possible burnings and stuff with the wood and all the other stuff that we've had occur over the past few episodes that Jinshi's been on the hunt for and the look for. Things we know about her, very little. We know her and Lishu don't get along. She does not fuck with her at all. So my assumption, because this girl's so much younger, is one, Emperor's paying more attention to Lishu than she wants, which I don't believe is the case because of things that some other people have said. It makes me just think that he's not interested in her in the slightest, because that was the thing that his dad was. So to me, that doesn't seem to be the case. Two, she is somebody that the Emperor probably had some sort of relation with, like, prior to taking over and becoming the Emperor. So she's like somebody who's like on like par or very close related to him in some sort of way. So it doesn't like other people being around. So maybe she has an issue with the other girls, but it's easier for her to enact that like anger in a way towards this other person who she doesn't want involved. Or maybe because that girl wasn't like handpicked and she's like very protective or aware of whatever it is with him. So she seems to have close ties in some sort of way, or at least the way I'm viewing it, might have them with the Emperor. So this could be a very messy, complicated situation if somebody involved with her might be getting orders from her specifically to go out and do all these different things and do away with these people and stuff. But it also could be like direct order from Emperor to other people to cause issues to happen, or maybe not even the case, but it could just be, actually don't know, but like I think something along those lines could happen and things could get entirely messy if they plan to go those routes. I don't know, but I'm interested to see. It's gonna be all for me. I think I rambled a lot there, but I had some stuff I wanted to discuss or at least talk about when I came to it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed or took something from it, or you know, don't agree with me in the slightest and will let me know why. But I'm excited to see kind of what is more to come. Even in an episode that I feel was fairly weak and didn't, I guess, grip me as much for the first, I don't know, 15 minutes of it, it did a really great job of pulling me back in, and I think getting probably more discussion out of me than most of the other episodes have. So pretty cool, and even shows that in an episode that I feel was a little bit more on the weaker side of the ones that we have presented, still are very strong in the grand scale of things compared to any other show really this season outside of like Fur. And so big pluses there, and I'm very happy about that. If you liked it all, like and subscribe to me, not to me, feel free to check out the other videos on the channel. Leave me comments for this episode or series. I will be back for the 10th episode next week. You guys have a good one though. Peace.